Picture this. It's your wedding day. You're wearing a beautiful outfit. The music is playing. And all of a sudden, something has come adrift. Your garter has slipped. Tell me, is this the face that you want your future spouse to see before you marry them? No, but don't worry, because I have a solution. In fact, I've got several solutions. And whether you're wearing a frilly garter or a flat garter, this will help. This is Handmade Originals coming to the rescue. Right, so whether you're wearing a frilly garter or a flat garter, there are only two reasons. I realise I've just held up four. There are only two reasons, two reasons only why your garter will slip. The first is because it's too loose, and the second is because it doesn't have enough traction on the leg, i.e. it's too slippery. So with the first one, now that could be caused by two different things. It could be because you've measured your thigh too high and therefore the garter is actually too big. Let me show you something, and this isn't something you get to see every day, although I have been doing it a lot recently. Right, what am I talking about? I'm talking about this is a strange video. Okay, I'm talking about your thigh. If you're measuring up here, you're too high, and this is sort of one of the widest parts of your leg, which means with most people, as you walk along like this, shimmying down the aisle or across the beach or wherever, it's going to catch a little bit, chafe maybe, or just rub gently on the other leg. And that means that the garter, which is here, is going to just get shifted a little bit. And once it does, if you can see, okay, look, you can see this goes from wide to narrow, so the garter is going to slip. So what you should do is you measure here, or alternatively, you walk like this, which nobody wants to do. Right, I've climbed down from that little perch. So I think I hope I've made it clear that one of the reasons your garter is just too big is because you've put it on the wrong part of your leg. If you look at this video, you'll see I go at great length, sorry about that, about where to measure your leg and why. So what you have to do then is reduce the size of your garter or tighten it. The easiest way to do that is just, if you've got one, or a friend has one, zip it under a sewing machine and just make it shorter. Then hopefully that will fit. Alternatively, you can hand stitch it, or if push comes to shove, then it's time for the humble safety pin. Before we move on to how to make your garter have more traction, I just want to dwell a little bit on if your garter is too loose. Another reason why your garter might be too loose is not because you've measured it in the wrong place or anything like that, but because the elastic is old. And when the elastic is old, it doesn't retract as much when you pull it, which means that once you've pulled it out, i.e. you've put it on, if you've pinged it or done anything like that, it doesn't come back to its original size and therefore gets slightly bigger, which means it makes it looser on the legs. So I'm afraid in that case, if you have tired old elastic that's just stretching and stretching, you're going to have to put fresh elastic into the garter. The best elastic, which I've recently discovered, is this combination of, it comes in different sizes. This is 2 centimetres wide. You don't have to have it this wide, you can have it narrower, but it has a combination of both elastic, which is very strong and pingy, but also, and I hope you can see it there, it's got 2 wavy lines. I'll show you the black because it's easier to see, I think, on the black. It's got 2 wavy lines of sort of latexy rubber, which gives it lots of traction on the leg as well. Right, and that brings me on to the second way to, or the second reason that your garter slips, and that's because it doesn't have enough traction on the leg. Now, I've noticed, because I have looked at these things, that there are quite a few people online and on YouTube who are making beautiful garters, but what they do is they line the inside with satin ribbon. And unfortunately, although it looks beautiful, satin is slippery, as we know, so has no purchase on the leg, and so you'll have to make it tighter to make it stay put. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't particularly like things really tight to the body, and I think if you're on your wedding day, the last thing you want is to have a really tight garter gripping your leg like a tourniquet. You want something comfortable to wear, so that it's just like your little secret thing under your leg that you don't need to get stressed about. I don't know where I was going with that. So the second thing we need to consider is how to make your garter have more traction. In my garters initially I started using knicker elastic like this. This isn't a particularly wide one, that's probably about 1 centimetre wide, and you can probably use wider, and they're great. So if knicker elastic is fine on the leg, why would you need to give it more traction? Well, one, it's a sort of belt and braces approach so that you really don't have to worry about it. But secondly, and more importantly I think, is I've seen some demonstrations for making garters online where they put really kind of quite heavy diamante on the garter, and if you put extra weight on, then I don't think knicker elastic is probably going to be sufficient to hold it. So either just to be on the safe side, or because you've got some kind of industrial decoration going on here, then I think we need to have some more traction on the leg, even if it's only for your peace of mind. Right. So when we're talking frilly garters, whether you're trying to add traction to it because it's satin lined, or because you're simply going to put sort of a heavyweight bit of diamante on the front, the one suggestion is the same, and that is this. Use this stuff, spray adhesive. You can get all different types, and this is actually for furnishings, for spraying and gluing curtains, carpets, that sort of thing, where you spray it on both sides of the fabric or carpet and floor, and then you let it cure and eventually put the two pieces together and you get a nice seal. Well, you don't do that for your garters. So what you do with your garter is you pin it down like this. This is the made up garter. You mask off, and I've just used post-it stickers here, the lace, because you only want to get this is basically spray glue. You only want to get this on the elastic or on the satin covered elastic, or the elastic for this one. So, and then you spray here, and then you leave it to dry completely, and it will be, I'll just show you. I sprayed this on a few hours ago, and as you can see, it's still a little bit tacky, but it's not really sticky. If you stick it together like this, you'll see it pulls. So you can see it's a sort of rubbery consistence, so you have to be careful not to do that. But if you just get it on one surface, you will have this gluey, slightly tacky surface which will stretch, as opposed to if you use double-sided tape. There's very little stretch in that, and what there is, it doesn't retract, it just stretches out but doesn't come back on itself. So I wouldn't use double-sided tape on these frilly types of garters where you want the elastic to stretch out and then come back on itself. I did think, when I saw this tape, which has this lovely silicone wavy line on it, which is very good for traction, I might be able to emulate that with a hot glue gun. So I did 3 lines here. This is just a straight line, it doesn't stretch, it snaps, and it's rigid. That's a waste of time. I did a thick wavy line, that doesn't stretch, it's rigid, that's a waste of time. And this one, a very thin wavy line, stretches a tiny amount, doesn't retract, so really that's a waste of time. So don't waste your time trying to put a hot glue gun wavy line, because although it might look similar to this is not hot glue, this is silicone, which is stretchy and retracts with the elastic, and also has that nice traction so that it will adhere to the leg and not slip. One of the best solutions, however, is the simple elastic band. It's rubbery and it will stick to your leg. and it can be as tight as you want it to be. So what I would do is to order an elastic band which is about the same width as the elastic that you're going to cover, or in this case the satin ribbon that you're going to cover, and a little bit shorter than the circumference measurement for your leg, because you want it to be a little bit tight on your leg, but not just the same measurement as your leg, and not really like that, because that's going to be too tight. And then what you do is you take your garter and you just anchor the rubber band, I think probably in 3, 4, maybe 5 places. You don't pierce the rubber band with your needle, because that will weaken it and possibly cause it to snap. And you just, I can get this round. I haven't measured these, this is just an example. And put it around like that. And that, it's a perfect way to give your garter a little bit extra traction so that it doesn't take a ride down your leg. Moving on to flat garters, this is a slightly different scenario because we don't have a central piece of elastic. So what I've tried here, and what I tried actually for my niece's wedding, I used heat bond, which is this stuff, which is basically glue on a piece of paper, which you iron on, and then you peel the paper off, and then you iron on an applique. And what I've done here is I've ironed on, can you just see the reflection in the light? Let me show you, this is clearer to see. So this is heat bond here. You can see it shining there. So basically this is just a sheet of glue. It's been ironed on, and then the paper has been, it was like this, paper was just peeled off like that. So this, if I put a hot iron on this, that would melt and it would stick to the iron. The warmth of your leg against this will make it, it won't melt it, but it will make it slightly tacky, not sticky, tacky on your leg, so that if you put it along like this, like ribs on your lace, even though the lace is elasticated and I'm sure will stay put anyway, those extra little bits of heat bond in ribs going along like this will give you peace of mind so that you know it's not going to go anywhere. I did also try this spray adhesive on the back of the lace, but the problem is because the lace has so many holes in it, it does actually show a little bit on the right side, which I didn't really like because it looks a bit grubby. But then there is a hybrid approach where you put some heat bond like this. There's one here if you can see it, but this is to give you an example. There's a little fly. You put the heat bond on, and then the heat bond, once it's on the lace at the back, forms a solid surface, covers all the holes in the lace, and then you can spray your spray adhesive. There we are. If you mask off the rest of the lace, you can spray it just where the heat bond is, and that gives you stickier fix on the lace and therefore on your leg. But that's really up to you. Try these things out on a piece of fabric and see how you feel about them. So to be honest, I just used the heat bond on the garter I made for my niece, which was actually made out of this lace and which is demonstrated on a video in the series on wedding accessories on YouTube. So you can see that being made there, and I didn't need or use this extra adhesive spray, but really it's up to you what you want to use. And if you've got something quite heavy attached to this, it might be worth using the spray adhesive for your peace of mind. Alternatives are double-sided tape, which has been suggested by various people. This is double-sided tape here. And basically, if you get the thin one, it's literally the same as the heat bond. It's a layer of glue, but it's trapped between two bits of paper. So I've taken one side off and stuck it down, and I've just taken the other side off. And what you can do, you can use that instead of the heat bond, and you can, but that's glue, that's quite sticky still. And you can either just press it a few times with your hand so it's not quite as sticky on your leg, so it's not uncomfortable tugging at your hairs on your leg, assuming you have some. And that doesn't show through on the other side. I can't really show you that on the lace because I'll be showing you something like, oh, here it is, and you can't see anything. I wouldn't use this thicker double-sided tape because it has this thick layer of foam in between. Take it off there. If I put it on the lace here, yes, that will adhere it to the body, but also you'll see it from the other side and it looks pretty unpleasant actually, whereas and this comes unstuck. And finally, so after all of this, you find you simply cannot get your garter to stay put and it's all stressful and worrying. Don't worry about it. Honestly, don't worry about it. It's just a bit of nonsense to have fun. So here's your garter. What you can do, you can either just, if you want to wear your garter, you can wear it on your wrist like this. Alternatively, you can wrap it around your bouquet or whatever you want to, or you can ping it, or you can tuck it into your partner's pocket and say you'll wear it later, or you can just ping it into the congregation just for fun. Why not? A wedding is a celebration, it's a joyful time. Have fun with it. Don't just let yourself get stressed out by small things like garters. Just have a wonderful day and an absolutely super life ahead of you. See you in the next one. You've got a bit of a mess here. Like, let's just get rid of that. Too much glue. Right.